In my experience, I think that when organisations shift from a reactive approach to a proactive approach, they can really use it as an opportunity to get ahead of regulatory change. And then they can position themselves strategically amongst different jurisdictions to really take advantage of what those jurisdictions have to offer, what the regulatory updates have to offer, and how to give themselves, that edge over their competitors who haven't yet been able to get ahead of those innovations in the markets. I think that it's useful to define, real progress, because what we're seeing over the last 5 to 10 years is a lack of synchronization between how quickly technologies are evolving and how quickly regulators can keep up with those changes. I mean, take crypto, for example. Since 2016, crypto has very much, and the technology that underpins crypto has very much been well ahead of any type of regulatory change that has entered the market. So at a time when the technology is evolving, you've got regulators that are trying to keep up. So what we're seeing now is regulators becoming more and more involved in the technology that underpins a lot of different industries, and therefore trying to create a framework that will not inhibit innovation and growth in these industries, but instead support them and work with them. I think that's something that can really push progress. I think that one of the things that have been quite successful for global regulatory management has been effective regulatory horizon scanning. That's something that I think has been really, really useful, because what you have is a lot of fragmented rules across different jurisdictions. And when you have these different fragmented rules, it means that your different entities, your different branches, wherever it is that you're operating, tend to act in silos. So you're seeing a big push in different financial institutions or, different institutions that have these type of fragmented rules. What you're seeing is more and more compliance groups coming together to create these overarching rules that, instead of creating separate means of governance within their different organisations, actually creating something unified that, creates harmonisation within their entities, and then effective implementation locally to those little nuances that might differ depending on which jurisdictions they're operating. This is something that you're seeing growing increasingly in different industries, and it's something that I personally have seen as quite successful implementation. That harmonisation within the group is something that will always, put companies ahead of the curve. Well, you have to have regulatory literacy. If you don't have regulatory literacy, it's going to be quite difficult to stay ahead of the curve. You also need to understand the digital world. Nowadays, digital is moving so fast. You've got more and more, even regulatory compliance companies coming out with AI tools, AI models that can, help with your regulatory mapping, your regulatory sourcing, interpretation from different language backgrounds. If you don't understand the digital tools that you're using, you're not going to understand how to interpret those, how to implement those. And then finally, I think you have to have strategic vision. If you don't have strategic vision, then the different jurisdictions that you operate in, it's not going to make sense why you're going there, what you're doing there, why these tools are useful for you, and how specific jurisdictions may give you a competitive advantage over other players in the market. This is my first Global RegTech Summit, and one of the things that I've enjoyed so far is the different people that have been brought together. You've got people that are representing AI, people that are representing regulators, banks, different financial institutions. You've got a room filled with experts in their field that are now putting regulatory compliance at the forefront of their discussion. That's how this type of event brings people together.